I hope you know me well enough by now to know that I shoot straight with you. That when I tell you, hey, if you're going to do this, this is the person I recommend. And if you have a bad experience, you let me know and I will personally reach out. It's not a stretch for you to figure out that I like to eat red meat, right? So when GoodRanchers.com came to me, was like, hey, we want to provide you some meat. We want you to try it. And if you like it, we want to talk to you about telling other people you like it. You bet. We're talking about America's best grass-fed, grain-finished beef delivered straight to your door. Don't waste your money on overseas beef, cheap beef, bad cuts, and don't go to all the trouble. Have it come directly to you. It's already taken care of. Just go to GoodRanchers.com and then send me an email and tell me how much you loved it, because you will. Right to your door, GoodRanchers.com.
Right now, all listeners will get $30 off your first order with promo code BARRY. That's promo code BARRY.
It's that time. Lock and load. The Michael Berry Show is on the air.
The media is going to lie about Donald Trump every day between now and Election Day. You're going to hear that there's a bombshell story. None of them are bombshells. If they were bombshells, that story would have come out 3 years ago. It would have come out when they were impeaching him. It would have come out when they've told all the other lies. Every single one of them. Just understand, a lot of people want Donald Trump to lose. And those people are willing to say and do anything. But they have no influence unless you believe them. And I'm here to tell you, the consequence for what they've done is that they have to be disbelieved and ignored with everything they do. Because they're liars with no credibility. 55 days to go. They want mail-in voting. You know why? News report, KTLA TV, bags of mail found dumped in a California parking lot.
What you're looking at is a pile of U.S. mail dumped in the parking lot of the Q7 Spa here in Glendale.
It happened early in the morning, 5:40, and it was a budget rental big truck that back up to the parking lot, and there's like slowly one and one they're dropping the packages.
Throwing them out of the truck?
Yeah, it is a budget rental car, it's not USPS truck.
Почта и Mail United States.
The enormous mound of boxes and envelopes was found by a spa employee. And less than a mile away, more U.S. mail found dumped near this alleyway. Thousands of pieces, all discarded at two different locations in one morning.
Unopened packages, and it's a lot with see-through box. It was scary.
It wasn't only one or two, it's huge pile of different size packages.
All U.S. mail?
All U.S. mail.
Postal inspectors wouldn't comment on what type of mail had been dumped, but this could be why local residents haven't been receiving their checks or medicines or other critical correspondence. And with the USPS at the center of an ongoing national political debate, this certainly doesn't help its image. Some think that this was an inside job.
Because it's huge packages. I think it's from inside.
You think somebody within the Postal Service did this?
Probably. Otherwise, how they can steal too many packages?
Postal inspectors wouldn't comment on that either. But the dumped mail, we're told, has been retrieved and should be forwarded to its rightful destination in the coming days.
So they rolled out a story today with Bob Woodward, who has spent every day since Watergate trying to make every Republican action into this is the next Watergate. And they roll out Bob Woodward, and there he is, and he says, this is Watergate all over again. And for some reason, there is an inexhaustible appetite, an insatiable appetite for Bob Woodward to tell us that every person who's not a liberal Democrat is, in fact, Richard Nixon all over again. And so they did it today. Trump, first they said that Trump didn't take coronavirus seriously. Then he took it very serious. And they can't make up their mind. Remember, he said it was so serious, it was worse than the flu. Well, here he is saying it's not serious at all. I played it down. Well, if you actually read the transcript of what he says, I've downplayed it to avoid panic. That's called leadership. When your country is attacked, what did George W. Bush do? He showed his greatest leadership at that moment. He was reading to some children, I believe in Florida. Andy Card comes in, whispers in his ear, Mr. President, a tower in New York has gone down. We've interviewed Andy Card. I can tell you exactly what he says that he told the president. When you know what he said and you watch George W. Bush's face and you realize for just a moment he kind of glances up to the ceiling and he looks around and his mind is boggled. He has just been told something so beyond belief that he's having to process, are we in the end times? Is this a Soviet attack? He doesn't know. This is the first he's known of it. So he rolls his eyes and looks around, and then he continues talking to the children so as not to frighten them. And then he gets up, walks out, and begins the plans to deal that day with getting back to the White House, which was so important to him. Now, what the Democrats wanted him to do was, because otherwise he didn't take it seriously. But he did. It's called leadership. And they don't know anything about that because they've spent the last 6 months in a state of perpetual Chicken Little running around that the sky is falling, and the president refused to do that because it destroys your economy, because it leads to too much anxiety, tumult, disruption. He took a step. January 29th, I read today it was the 31st, I'm positive it was the 29th, that stopped all travel from China into this country, except for those returning who were American nationals, American citizens. He stopped all travel. And when he did, immediately, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi said he's a xenophobe, he doesn't like the Chinese, and he is punishing our dear friend and ally in China. I think Joe Biden's on the payroll, probably through his bag man, Hunter Biden, that good for nothing. But I'll leave that aside for now because I'm too classy. But first, Joe Biden in August said he would have a national mask mandate. He'll make rules for everybody. This is what he said.
It's about saving Americans' lives. So let's institute a mask mandate nationwide, starting immediately, and we will save lives. The estimates are we'll save over 40,000 lives in the next 3 months if that is done.
So he's going to institute a national mask mandate. You don't get to decide what you're going to do. He, as president, will do it for you. Play it one more time.
It's about saving Americans' lives. So let's institute a mask mandate nationwide, starting immediately, and we will save lives. The estimates are we'll save over 40,000 lives in the next 3 months if that is done.
You're supposed to hear, save lives, save lives. You're not supposed to notice governmental control over your life coming out of Washington, D.C., overruling your local government. Other people making decisions for you. Well, it turns out that it started costing him votes in places like Pennsylvania and Michigan and North Carolina, Wisconsin, Ohio, Florida, where he's losing. And so then what does he come out and say? Oh, it's probably unconstitutional. Well, then why'd you say you'd do it?
Well, I hope we can trust the governors, but here's the deal. The federal government, there's a constitutional issue whether the federal government could issue such a mandate. I don't think constitutionally they could, so I wouldn't issue a mandate. But I'd plead I'd carry my mask with me everywhere I go. I'd set an example. I'd make sure that, and I understand what's happening. You see what's happening in your state. The numbers are going down because local authorities have taken the responsibility of issuing mandates in their cities and the counties. And fewer people are showing up without masks. The public is taking note of what, in fact, increases the prospect of the virus coming down. And so we need basic social responsibility. And those who talk about my freedom to wear a mask, well, what about your patriotism to protect your neighbor from getting sick because you may be communicating the virus? I think this is such a selfish way to approach things. It's about making sure the public is safe and secure. And that is a local decision, but there should be national standards laid out as to how it should be gone about. You can't mandate that, but to set the example of what need be done.
Stop being selfish. Do what Joe Biden tells you to do.
This is our talk radio. It's the Michael Berry Show. to go home with me.
79 years ago today, the artist we came to know as Otis Redding was born. His birth name? Otis Redding Jr. Otis Ray Redding, born in Dawson, Georgia. He would be raised in nearby Macon, Georgia. And that makes us think of another Junior's wonderful dad, and that is Ramon Robles Jr.'s wonderful father, veteran, retiree, then school teacher, husband, grandpa. What are the stories? Speaking of wonderful stories, I told this story this morning, but bear with me because I want to share this about blue lives and about making a difference. You know, we go to a funeral to show the widow or the widower, the children, the family that we're there in their time of need. And then we go back to our own lives. And anyone who's lost a loved one will tell you the hardest part is not the funeral. You got everybody around you to keep you distracted. It's almost like your loved one, is going to come in at any moment. But the hard part is when everybody leaves and that loved one that you're used to having your morning coffee with, or that you're used to going to get a cup of yogurt with, when they're gone. So we had a tactical flight officer with the Houston Police Department named Jason Knox, who was a great husband and father, and he died in a helicopter crash responding to a call as an HPD officer in the HPD helicopter on May 2nd. Well, yesterday was the first day of school for his son, Cooper, 6 years old. And right here in Houston, the Houston police officers stepped up and were there for the moment.
The first day at school is always special, but particularly so when police and fire trucks and HPD mounted patrol escort your bus to campus.
Sort of lighten the load or to uplift the child a little bit who's missing their father.
It's a tradition among law enforcement for fallen officers. Jason Knox died when an HPD chopper crashed 4 months ago. Pilot Chase Cormier survived and was there for the events which started at Cooper's home.
He came down the stairs. There's a lot of people down there. I said, yeah, they're all here for you, big boy.
The 6-year-old climbed into the school bus as neighbors waved along the route, and a caravan of first responders followed, including 2 vintage police cruisers his dad had restored and an HPD helicopter escort. All arrived in style at Cy-Fair ISD's Warner Elementary.
He's going to be a celebrity here at the school, I'm sure, for the next few days. But all the kids got to pet horses and be around motorcycles.
Mom Kira and the entire family are grateful.
It was an opportunity for us to not cry so hard. It's been tempered quite a bit by this outpouring of love and support.
Granddad Mike Knox, now a Houston City Councilman, was also an HPD officer for 15 years. Some of us in news have had the privilege of knowing all 3 generations of the Knox family. Got to meet Cooper at the hospital when he was born. Make your daddy proud, son.
Dang it. The woman who did that story is a woman named Sherman Chow. She is a legend. She is a legend. She's an institution. She's a treasure, an icon here in the Houston media market. And I don't think in all these years, since 1989 when I came to Houston and been watching local TV news, I don't think I've ever seen her cry before. And she made me cry this morning, and I'm not going to let it happen again this evening because, boy, oh boy, does that story hit me hard. And so that is your reminder when we go to this next break, somebody out there that you know lost a loved one. Maybe it was a month ago, maybe it was 10 years ago. And you know that they are missing that loved one.